Welcome to Transform Now, the podcast brought to you by robotic process automation pioneer Blue Prism. Digital transformation has the potential to reshape the way companies service their customers, engage their employees, and manage their operations. Whether you're looking to develop strategies, tactics, and best practices to positively impact the future of work, or you're curious to learn how other companies have successfully navigated their digital transformation programs, then this podcast is for you. We're here to help you transform now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brad Hairston with Blue Prism. Welcome to the Transform Now podcast. Today, I'm happy to have as my guest, Xavier Hanson, a partner with Reveal Group, a Blue Prism delivery and technology alliance partner. As a key partner on the front lines of automation, Xavier will be discussing with me his observations on trends, challenges, and opportunities in the world of intelligent automation. Xavier, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Brad. Very excited to be here.
You bet. So for those that don't know you, why don't you give us a brief introduction to start?
Sure. As you can tell from my very thick Brooklyn accent, I am from Australia. I grew up there, as you can imagine, as well, in a small town called Wallan, just north of Melbourne, for those playing the geography game. I actually don't have any formal business training. I started out my career in health, which naturally led me to becoming a business analyst when I realized that that wasn't going to work for me. And through that, discovered automation. And my career really has followed the market effectively with the way that RPA has grown, and led to coming to the US and working here to help develop Reveal Group and our North American presence.
Excellent. And you've been in the US for how long now?
9 on 3 years. Actually, I'm going home in 2 weeks, and it'll be my first trip home in just over 3 years. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Got to get some of your mother's cooking, I assume.
Well, yeah, I'll cook for my mother. I feel like I owe her a few at this point. Yeah.
Well, good for you. That's great that you get to make a return trip home.
Yeah.
So Xavier, for those not familiar with Reveal Group, why don't you provide an overview of the company? That would be great.
Sure. So we're about 150 strong, split almost evenly across APAC and North America. I think the North American team has actually recently overtaken the Australian team in terms of size, which was a pretty hallmark occasion for us. I guess in terms of my career with Reveal Group started 7 years ago, and almost the day I walked in the door, that was the day that the Blue Prism partnership began as well. And we are Blue Prism's platinum delivery partner, platinum capability partner. As recently as last year, we're named a leader in the mid-sized RPA firms for Forrester. So in the top right corner of the graph, which is a very nice place to be, and have been named the Blue Prism Business Award the last 2 years running. So I say all that to credentialize ourselves, but who we really are is RPA and IA experts. We live and breathe this stuff every day for our clients. We are very client-focused and client-centric, making sure that we're focused on scaling. It probably is a huge piece of our mantra, but also something a lot of organizations struggle with, and also value. I think there's a lot of talk in the market about the technology and the feature set and all that sort of thing. We're trying to bring our clients back to what is the value you're getting out of your program. So that's who we are. I think the things that kind of make us a little bit different than some of the larger firms, obviously being a boutique, we're very specialized. We do a lot of the complex work. So I think we'll probably get to this in this discussion, but we're heading towards the realms of RPA not being the sole solution, getting into IDP and all of those other things. We do a really good job of connecting those and making them cohesive and working with the business users. And we also have a dedicated platform team to set all the infrastructure up that you require as well.
Reveal is not only a delivery partner, you are also a technology alliance partner. Tell us about your product portfolio.
Sure. Yeah, managed to leave that out of our overview. So the technology portfolio we have is primarily the Robo Suite. And the Robo Suite is built to accelerate the process of automation, make the idea of scaling a lot easier. And it really was born from our ability to scale. So I mentioned before that we moved from Australia to North America. As we were doing that, managing director Ian Crouch challenged us and said, how are we going to maintain our quality and scale our business as we move into a new geography? So we built a set of tools to do that. And along the way, realized that every client's facing the exact same problem we were. How do we get this to market? So the 3 pillars in the Robo Suite are Robo Designer, Robo Review, and Robo Manager. Designer is all about taking your design documentation, turning it into pre-built templates for all of your objects and processes that are built to best practice, that have your exception handling, etc. Robo Review, which is probably the most used product in the market of the Robo suite. It is about automated code review, removing the amount of effort that your high cost, highly experienced code review design authority resources have to use by automating at least 95% of the code review process. And if you get your developers to do that, by the way, along the whole development process, then it means that by the time we get to code review, there's far less rework. So that tool is hugely impactful and reduces the amount of time, obviously, in that space, but also greatly improves the quality and I guess the comfort of what you're putting into production. And then the last one is Robo Manager, which is an end-to-end lifecycle tool. So as soon as somebody comes up with an idea for a process, that goes straight into Robo Manager, and you use that to do all of your sizing of effort and value to deliver the process. It's got project management capability in there to help tell you how to deliver it. And then once in production, it connects to your Blue Prism database, give you all of the BI and management information you need, and can also tie back to the original discovery piece and making sure you're delivering on value there. So again, coming back to the value and scale side of things.
And how do you go to market with your products?
We do have a direct website sales portal, so people who get pushed to Reveal website. We also have through Blue Prism, you can buy it on the Blue Prism DX, as we are a TAP partner there, and we encourage that. And then we have direct sales from existing clients and all that sort of thing. They're the three sort of main ways. Yep.
Fantastic. Xavier, I know Reveal works with large enterprises as well as SMB companies. What about startups that are taking kind of a digital first approach as they build their company? Are you guys working with companies in that category?
We are starting to, yeah. So the value proposition is obviously a little bit different with a startup than an enterprise who's potentially looking at cost out or revenue generation and that sort of thing. I guess with the few startups we're working with, there's a couple of different models we're going for there. In a startup that is a bit more technology focused themselves and have a lot of internal capability and engineers, building out RPA as another pillar, another tool in the toolbox they can reach for when they need to build a new product or go digital first in some process they're building or something like that to maximize the amount of revenue without bringing on new staff. So staying small as a startup, maximizing the amount of clients they can serve. So trying to very quickly build that. They're already technology people. So very quick to build that capability, help them become self-sustaining and self-sufficient as quickly as possible so they can get out into the market. And I think the beauty of RPA is you can move quickly. And if you're a startup, you need to be able to move quickly. So it aligns quite well to their ethos. The other one, and this is something that's a little bit, I guess, more frequently done in the Australian arm of the company at the moment, but as we're heading into the North America, is as a service model of some variety, whether it's robotics platform, whatever it be, that serves the kind of startup market a little bit better because maybe they don't want to reconvert those resources, those finite resources they have to RPA. They want to keep them doing Python or whatever they're working on. Hey, can you guys pick this up and automate this process for us so that we can continue on with our business as much as possible? So early days in the startup market, I would say it's not a pillar of what we do, but it's certainly exciting because it means that we can grow with them into the future.
Yeah, definitely. Very interesting. Reveal partners with a lot of top technology companies that are also part of our technology alliance ecosystem. Companies like Reinfer, 24/7 AI, RPA Supervisor, just to name a few. By the way, all of them have been on this podcast, so you're in good company.
Esteemed company, yes.
Do you anticipate that Reveal will continue to add more technology partners? Is this critical to your growth?
Oh, absolutely. So I've made the comment probably more than people are quite sick of me actually at Reveal. We're saying this over and over again, but the next 3 to 5 years for us looks like complex end-to-end multi-technology deliveries. I think that the maturity of the market RPA alone means that a lot of that low-hanging fruit is now gone. And therefore, how do you get the next cut of value in your organization with automation? And it's by adding things like intelligent document processing through a Decipher, or if you need a specialized product, then you go after that as well. It's by adding process intelligence to make sure that you're auditing and monitoring these processes and looking for further improvements. All that sort of stuff. That's exactly the way we intend to go. And I think that's the way the market's going. And so what we have at the moment with the way it works internally at Reveal Group anyway is a technology council. So it's quite similar to the Blue Prism TAP program where we assess technologies they come up and see how they would fit into our broader environment and make sure that they're going to be applicable to clients. And then we decide how are they going to work? How do we build capability and all that sort of stuff? So long answer to your question, but absolutely that's where we're headed, and we can continue to develop those partnerships and probably deepen the existing ones as well as we get more capability.
Okay. You mentioned scaling earlier. Let me ask you, from your perspective, what are the major challenges to scaling intelligent automation that you see consistently across your client base?
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit biased here because I do have a foot in the platform team and infrastructure team door, but I would say that is often we are brought into programs that are struggling, and one of the major things that is struggling is the platform infrastructure. And that's not necessarily because it was set up incorrectly in the first place. It was probably set up for purpose, but the clients are now at a position where they need to scale past what was originally built. They don't know how to do that because it does require quite a bit of expertise. And I think the biggest challenge with platform is that if you compare it to pipeline or delivery or even production and maintenance, all of those things not working will slow you down. Right? Platform not working will stop you dead. You can't go anywhere without a working infrastructure. So that is usually the first one you start with. And I would say second on our list, and where we get a lot of work in helping clients scale, is that pipeline, right? If you can go out and seek opportunities, find good automation opportunities, then put them into the top of the hopper. It justifies the business case to bring on developers and build out the rest of the automation and deliver value. That's what it always comes back to. I think when it comes to pipeline, the biggest challenge people have is after that first shot, they've got all these processes. These are great processes to work on that they've crowdsourced or whatever. Okay, where do you go after that? We've eaten the pinata a little bit and things have fallen out. How do we go out and be more systematic about this? And I think that's another place where we try to help clients understand that you're better off doing a kind of a top down or a full scan of everything you do, looking for where the biggest value is and looking for automation opportunity there.
Okay. Xavier, are most companies still looking to build up their own intelligent automation competency and COE, or are you seeing a higher interest in them having you do it for them in an outsourcing services kind of arrangement?
Very interesting question. I would say if you had to ask me that question prior to the pandemic starting, then it would have been a very different answer. Back then, a lot of our work and a lot of what I was seeing from clients was helping build pipeline and helping build capability. A lot of mentoring and all that sort of thing. And in the last 18 to 24 months has been about, we've got a million things going on. How can you guys help us get things done as quickly as possible? Where can you come into our team? And that is looking like continuing for the next little while, although we are starting to see, and this is probably more of a prediction than an actual trend at the moment, but it's starting to come back a little bit the other way as things start to settle into the new normal. I would expect that will go on. I think what will change is that the demand for lower cost delivery is going to kick up again.
It seems to me that the scarcity of skills and maybe also just the pace of technology change, which is so fast, hard for companies to keep up with. It seems like the combination of those two, which the pandemic certainly exacerbated, would be driving companies more and more in this direction.
Yeah,
so it's good.
Point, yes.
Interesting to hear your perspective on that.
And coming back to the whole complexity and then integrating multiple solutions side of things, that's a harder capability to build for an organization, especially if they're starting from scratch. So you can understand that there would be more of a demand for existing skill sets.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you think companies need to utilize AI more in their process automation?
Probably, I would say it's actually infrequently used, and mostly because it's poorly understood as to how to use it. I think AI, the way it should be applied after the fact. So you automate the process, you get all of that. The only thing that can feed amount of data to an AI engine that it requires to help improve your business is going to come from robotics. Like it's the only kind of full chain of a process that you can feed into an AI engine that's going to give you the outcomes you want. If you can feed in system data all with long day, but you're missing the steps in between that mean that the AI is missing those steps and therefore can't help you improve. So I think in terms of using it, it's making sure that you've got the right processes automated and that they are stable, and you're using it as a sort of a CI, continuous improvement step as part of that as you reach that level of maturity.
So you see most companies doing this in a second or third wave of automation.
Exactly. Yeah. And honestly, it's a harder business case to make if you're going for a single process. So you need a certain level of maturity and scale to make that viable.
Okay. And when they're ready to make that move, what do you see is like most often the first step? Is it something around intelligent document processing? Is that usually the first step?
It's part of it. I would say there's a lot of data analytics is probably the big one.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say a little bit of IDP in there as well and digitization, but huge amounts of analytics and data processing is part of that.
Okay. Xavier, citizen development programs have clearly become more commonplace in organizations that have embraced automation. What is your perspective on this?
I feel like borrowing a line from the Matrix. It's like, it is inevitable. The citizen development model on paper works and makes sense. And we do need to get there. And I think we will get there. I think my perspective is that a lot of mistakes are made in citizen development when you try to start out with it. It's one of those things that it requires a very good governance model and engine effectively set up for it to be successful, because you're democratizing the whole thing. And the only way to do that safely, in inverted commas, is to make sure that you've got a really, really good internal process and governance set up to make sure that everything goes into the pipe, everything's reviewed correctly, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a bit of a walk before you run situation with citizen development. And I think for the more mature programs that have been going for quite some time, that have good governance models, that is absolutely where they need to be looking. We've talked for a very long time about the long tail of automation, right? And getting the kind of small processes that are individually not huge value, but collectively are. The way that you capture those cost effectively is by getting citizen developers to develop them for you rather than using high cost, high skilled resources to do them. So that's going to happen, and it is all there to be captured. It just has to be done right. Otherwise you create the Wild West all over again.
When do you see the citizen development topic coming up? Is it at the beginning of a company's automation journey, or is it typically later when they're looking for additional ways to grow it or proliferate into other divisions, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think they often ask early because it's so bandied about in the market, right? I think
Right.
we'd be naive to pretend it didn't exist. When the serious discussions come in, it is much later in their maturity model. Sometimes not super late. Sometimes they're a year in. Okay, how do we project out over the next 2 to 3 years how our program's going to grow? And so they might start thinking about citizen development earlier. But yeah, it's usually a bit more mature before it kicks in.
Okay. Related to this, do you see companies using more of a hybrid approach to automation, where they're using more than one RPA platform, maybe Power Automate for the citizen developers, Blue Prism for more the enterprise type of RPA? Is that becoming more common?
Certainly is, yeah. With the Power Automate becoming free for Windows 10 users, that drives a lot of people, if they're looking at citizen development, to a low cost, easy skill set. The good thing about that too is that it creates a more clear definition of what processes you choose for which tool, because there are certain limitations on the Power Automate suite. Yes, it's excellent at task automation, but anything more complex, then it starts to struggle. So having that differentiation is a really important part of a successful citizen development model. If process A comes along, who gets it? The enterprise team or the citizen developers? And if you've got a tool feature set differentiation driving that, then that really helps as well.
That's a great point. So what are your thoughts on the advent of process intelligence and its impact on scaling intelligent automation?
To me, the current process intelligence marketing push reminds me of the early days of RPA. The original days of RPA, it was all pushing of, it's drag and drop. It takes 2 weeks and all that sort of thing, which we now know aren't true. I think with process intelligence, it's got a lot of value. And I think it's about pointing in the right direction to get that value. And I think some of the things that are coming out in the market at the moment about it being a cure-all for your discovery woes and your pipeline woes are probably a bit off. You can't throw it across an entire department and it's going to magic up all of these automation opportunities. I think there's still a fair amount of manual effort required for that. What it's really good at, and I think where we use it best, is 2 places. One is if you've got a process that goes across multiple teams or silos or something that is a large, complex process, and you want to see where it's standardized and where it's not, and look for an opportunity from an organizational perspective to make a single unified process that is standardized. The way that you measure and find out where all that deviation is process intelligence. That is absolutely where you go for that. And the other one is the audit side of things. So once you've got a process in place, that it's automated. You run your PI over the top of it, and it's going to tell you, hey, this path could be more efficient, X, Y, Z. How do you monitor for the value and also look for more, again, CI opportunities to improve those processes as well? So it might be a bit of a hot take.
No, I love it. Do you expect that Reveal is going to be asked by a lot of your clients that are using Blue Prism to help them, make that transition to starting to use process intelligence as another way to take their automation program to the next level?
Yeah, in fact, that's already happening with BPPI now becoming part of the package that comes with the prod support. Absolutely, that's already happening. We're already speaking to clients. They're already starting to see where it could be valuable, and it's just getting it in and beginning to use it. BPPI is relatively new, so still working through that, but we've been partnered with other process intelligence firms in the past.
Xavier, I know you work with a lot of clients in a lot of different industries. Is there a recent client engagement that you were involved in that was just really interesting, unique in some way? I'd love to hear at least one story like that if you have one to share.
Sure. I can think of one. So I'll preface this by saying I had very little to do with this because this was done by people much smarter than me. But it's really a good representation of where I think the market's heading, right? So we have a health services client who process a lot of claims that you can imagine. And those claims come in via paper and fax predominantly. And a lot of those claims have handwriting on, which is a very tough nut to crack when you're talking about intelligent document processing. So our solution and what we helped the client achieve was by using Blue Prism and Hypersights together, extracting all the data from those claims and processing them. And there was a bit of a wrinkle. I think this is probably where it starts to get really cool, is that for this process, if anything went wrong, either the initial data extraction or with the process, it had to be pushed back to a person. Now, human in the loop's quite difficult to do. To be fair, we started this before Interact really existed. And so we ended up building a SharePoint solution, which is the least ideal outcome, but did a really, really good job of managing the workflow. And I think all of those tools together, providing that end-to-end solution to a point where now, it was a pretty big mailroom that was working on those processes. And this particular client have now more than doubled their volume without having to change their mailroom size. And the other interesting thing, and I think it's a really good story, is that the guys in the mailroom that we were teaching to work with the bots and the IDP solution as well, we're talking, they barely turned a computer on. So it was a huge amount of enablement from their perspective, giving them new skills. So a good story from business engagement perspective, good story from client value perspective, but also a really cool story from a technology solution perspective.
That is a great story. Thank you for sharing that. So as we wrap up, let me ask you, any bold predictions you'd like to make?
So, I'm in New York. So we actually had the office here, and I was just chatting before. So this one comes from Doug Merrill. We were talking about things that he thinks would be expanding this year. He's predicted the rising of the human in the loop process. And the reason for that is because when you've got things like my last example, when you have things like more complex RPA, where you have IDP or even NLP solutions coming in, there has to be human beings involved, and how that's managed effectively. And there's a whole piece around UX and all that human experience there. So the rise of human in the loop is the bold prediction over this year.
That's a really good one. And I just interviewed a gentleman from BCG yesterday who's a supply chain expert. And he said that he anticipates a lot more of the supply chain area being automated. But he said very emphatically, there's a critical human in the loop element that has to be maintained. And if companies go too far and they don't protect that, then it's not going to work. Great minds think alike.
Well, it comes back to the whole mantra about RPA is you're removing the mundane tasks from the people. So that's right. You still have to have that human element there, and it's just managing that effectively.
Yeah. Good. Well, Xavier, thank you for your time today. It was great having you on the podcast. Reveal Group is such an important partner to Blue Prism, and it's just awesome to hear your perspective on all these topics that we covered. So all the best to you and to Reveal in 2022. Be well.
Thanks, Brad. Very, very happy to be on.
Thanks for tuning in to Transform Now, For more insightful discussions on digital transformation and more, check out our podcast channel where you'll find all of our previous episodes. To make sure you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you like what you heard, please leave us a review. For more information about digital transformation and the future of work, check out blueprism.com to learn how Blue Prism's digital workforce is enabling enterprise transformation now.